Okay guys, going to teach you today how to do your design ideas. So what you're going to need to make sure you've got some A4 plain paper, a pencil, okay, to draw with, and a rubber and a ruler, okay. So as you can see, there's 4 ideas here. This is what we're aiming to produce, and we're going to have a go at producing just the profile outlines, the profiles, that's the outside shape of 4 torch ideas, for 4 torch ideas, okay. And then later on, you'll be having a look at developing your characters and your images and your graphics that will go on the top surface of this, which will probably be produced in card at a later date when we get back to school. Okay, so all we're interested in today is making sure that we have got these outline profiles, okay? So the way we're going to do that, we're going to do them within rectangular boxes. And to start with, we need a title block and a border for good presentation. Okay, so we're going to do that first. So you're going to need yourself a piece of paper. Just make sure that's centralised. There we go. Excuse my squeaky chair. And you're going to need your ruler to do that with as well. All right, so to start with, what I did, we're going to measure 1 centimetre by putting a dot on the left hand side of the page, 1 centimetre in, and we're going to do that at the top and the bottom. The reason why we're doing that is so that we can join it together, okay? We'll do the same on this side. Dot there. And a dot there. And then we're going to join these 2 together, okay? So we've got... Okay, not too heavy with these, okay? Just so we can see a border. Just trying to keep my... And once you've done the 2 on the sides, do the same at the top and the bottom. So 1 centimetre, 1 centimetre. Always turn your ruler around and measure from 0 as well. 1 there. And 1 there. Okay, and join the top one. And I'm going to let these ones cross over in the corners as well, okay? Which is fine. Okay, just make sure your pencil's sharp as well before you do this. Just give it a good sharpen, okay? Right, so there's our border done. So next, what we're going to do is put the lines on that we're going to write on. This is sometimes called a title block. And just up from the bottom left hand corner here, we're going to measure up 1/2 centimetre, another 1/2 centimetre, and another 1/2 centimetre. So three lots of 5 millimetres and 1/2 centimetre, okay? And then you're going to do the same on this side. In fact, if you mark it on the borderline, might be easier. So 1/2, another 1/2, and another 1/2. Okay. And then get your ruler and join those up. Okay. And make sure that this time you go carefully from border to border. Okay. Don't overlap your border, because that'll look not very well presented. So carefully join those up. Okay. Once you've done that, you're then going to put in your title. So we're going to call it Torch Design Ideas, and using capital letters, block capitals, between the 2 middle lines, Just going to write that in block capitals. It looks neater, making sure the tops and bottoms of the letters pretty much touch those lines in the middle. Okay, and then put your name by the side. Like so. Today's date can go underneath if you want to as well. So for me, that's the 28th. So whatever date is you're doing this. Okay, so there is stage 1, and that is getting the title block and border done. Okay, we're going to go straight into stage 2 now, and that is to draw the boxes for the profile torch ideas, the outlines of the torches. So we're going to use some simple measurements for this. You've got to remember the same ones. This is what I did on the original one, as you can see here. So I have done a screenshot of this as a photograph, so if you want to open this as a separate file, you can do, just to remind yourself. It's going to be 20 in from the top border on the left hand side here, followed by 60, and then measuring from the other side on the other border on the right side, you're going to measure 20 and then another 60. Okay, keep it nice and simple. Doing the same at the bottom, and then you can join all those lines as verticals, and then we're going to measure 20 down from the top border, followed by 90 this time for the length of our rectangle. Okay, and then the same up from the bottom of the title block, 20 and then 90. And then draw all those lines horizontally. Okay, so here we go. Let's do that then. So we're going to make sure pads in the right position so you can sit. Okay, so on the top borderline, if you use that as a sort of marking edge, I'm going to measure 20 millimeters, followed by 60 millimeters. And always good practice to turn your ruler around, and from this side you're going to do 20 followed by another 60. Okay, do the same at the bottom. So we're now going to move down this border here just above our title block line. We're going to mark, you can do it right on the top of the title block line if you want to, 20 followed by 60, and on the other side, doesn't matter whether you do the left or the right side first, 20 and followed by 60. Right, you can now join those up. The reason why we're doing marking at the top and the bottom is to keep it parallel. And this keeps everything nice and square. Really nice and faint, guys, with these lines. Not too heavy at all, okay? That's one. Edge getting right. 2, 3, and 4. There we go. So you got 4 vertical lines, top to bottom. Okay, we're now going to do the horizontal ones, the ones that go across. This is a really quick way of making our grid. So we're going to measure down the border line again. And make sure you've got your 0 on the top edge. We're going to measure 2, and then followed by 9. Same for the bottom. Turn our ruler around again. This time we're measuring from the top of the border line, the title block line here. This is the last line that we drew. So measuring from there, 2, followed by 9 this time, 90 millimeters. Over to the other side. Another 2 centimeters or 20 millimeters, followed by 90 millimeters or 9 centimeters, whichever way you want to say it. Okay, and then at the top again, 2 down from the top, followed by 9. Okay, we're going to join those up now. And this time we're going to go from border to border, nice and faint, crossing all those vertical lines that we've just done. Just keep working your way down till you've done all 4. Okay, so what you've ended up with, you should end up with, is 4 boxes, 4 rectangles in the middle that are 6 centimetres or 60 millimetres by 9 centimetres or 90 millimetres. Okay, right then, so that's the grid done. So what we're going to do now is you're going to put 4 of your ideas for your profile shape of your torch. So the profile shape is what you want it to look like around the edges of the material. So we need to think about our ergonomics again that we talked about last week. How are you going to make it comfortable to hold? How are you going to make it safe? So you might want to round some of the edges off. You might even think about sort of, if you're doing something like I'm thinking about maybe Wolves football team, you could even maybe get a similar profile shape maybe to match the logo if you wanted to. But really this is just focusing on just some sort of kind of shape that's going to make it comfortable, and also maybe taking into consideration maybe where the LED light will poke out at the top. Okay, and as I've already said, thinking about where you might grip it as well. Okay, so bearing that in mind, the way that I started, so very, very quickly, I just thought, well, okay, got to make it safe. So for my first idea, you might just want to round off these corners. So what I did, I used the edges of my rectangle there just to sketch in very, very lightly and round off those corners. See how I'm touching the edges of that rectangle as well. We're not going over the lines and we're not doing a tiddly design in the middle. We're actually using that grid that we've got there, okay? And that might be it for design number 1. And you might just then say, okay, that just needs thickening up down there. So once you've got your profile shaping thin, just go around the edges, make it stand out in bold. You can use your ruler to help you do this as well if you want to. It doesn't have to be completely freehand. So for the straighter edges, just use your ruler to neaten it up. So there's my first idea, and that's all we want. We don't want anything more complicated. We don't want any graphics or design work on the face at all. Right, second idea. Let's have a little think then. So let's take that again. Let's say, okay, let's round the corners off. Going to keep it safe, keep that bit the same. Quite like that idea. But this time, I want to make it a bit more complex, a bit different. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put something called a centre line in the middle, and that'll help me get my lines a little bit better, more accurate. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to find halfway across, which is half of 60 is 30, or 3 centimetres. Just mark that at the top and the bottom. Put a very, very, very faint line down the middle, because that's not part of my drawing, it's just to help me. And halfway down, which is half of 90, is 45 millimetres, or 4.5 centimetres. And just very quickly, that's what we call a centre line. This is basically a cross in the middle. And that's going to help me now help me with proportion in getting some of these lines that I'm going to do. So I thought maybe right at the top where the LED pokes out, I might just recess that a little bit and have a little bit of a curve. So again, making sure that part of the curve this side is pretty much the same that side, and that centre line just helps me to get that roughly in the middle there. Okay, then what I'm going to do, I'm thinking, well, okay, let's make this ergonomic, let's make it easy to grip. So got my centre line in the middle here, so I'm just going to have some sort of finger size shapes there. Let's try and match that with a similar one that side and a similar one this side, like so. So yeah, that looks all right. I'm going to keep that like that, I think, as my next idea. So go around that one again. So down on the straight edges. Go back over just a little bit heavier and profile it. So using your thick and thin line techniques. So we use thick lines to outline our objects, our designs. And like I say, if you have made a little bit of a mistake, which is not quite accurate in the fine sketching, this just okay. So on to idea 3. So if you were, say, for example, a Wolves fan, you wanted one of your ideas to look like the hexagon shape for the logo. What I did with this one, I just measured 2 centimeters across the top, followed by another 2 centimeters, sort of divided it into columns of 2 centimeter strips. Did the same at the bottom. I did a 2 and a 2, rather than put a center line down the middle for this. I'll show you why in a second, because I wanted a hexagon. Connect those 2 up very, very lightly. And then I just found the middle again. So that's 4.5, 4.45. So with this one. And then I drew that line across. Okay, and then all I did then, where the lines hit the edges of my rectangle, I just joined them up. So I took this one, connected it to there. This one, connected it to there. Along the short bit at the bottom, the 2 centimeter gap. And oops, slipped. Okay, so again, different profile shape, trying to make our ideas different on every one. And then my last one, I thought about, let's make it more easy to put in the pocket, maybe round it off a little bit. So again, I used the same guidelines that I had there, because when we get, if we order these torch circuits in, they actually measure about 2 centimeters the circuit board, so we've got to sort of account for that in the middle, a sort of a long strip, and then what we encase them is entirely up to us as our case. Right, so that's me 2 vertical ones, 45. 45, and put my centre lines in the middle. Okay, so what I did with this one, I thought, well, okay, let's try and make it a bit more curvy. I thought, well, like the top one there, let's put a little semicircular sort of indent there, which will allow us to have the LED, maybe for our torch later on, sticking out. Then I thought, well, let's try and make it like an ellipse or an oval shape. So I sort of come from here, and I sketched a curve just to hit that edge there. Same at the bottom. Nice curve to hit that point there. So again, it's a bit sort of taking on sort of a natural form, a bit like a nature, maybe a bug shape. But again, very lightly, just to get your curve perfectly. Make sure they touch the edges. And then I thought, okay, finger grips again. Maybe I can put a finger grip in there. I might want to take that up the side a little bit as well. Let's have the 3 in again. Let's try that on both sides, see what that looks like. Okay, so I've got my outline shape, and then this is where we now thick and thin. So we're nice and thick around the edges. I'm just gonna press on a bit heavier now, around the shape. Just to get that. For a bit. Okay, so that's what we need to do for the first part of this lesson. So marking out your grid, getting your full profile ideas on there. Okay, cheers guys.